You dog! Damn it!
Welcome to the We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Fresh from the desk of Most Valuable Promotions, Kim Clavel, 22-2 with 3 knockouts, born and raised in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, Kim Clavel has become one of Canada's premier female fighters. The reigning IBF minimum weight world champion and former WBC light flyweight world champion, Clavel has earned a reputation for her relentless pressure, elite conditioning, and exciting, fan-friendly style. Riding a 3-fight winning streak, the Canadian star continues to add to an already accomplished career while proudly representing her hometown on the world stage. Where this gets interesting is where Kim Clavel responds to the post saying, "I can't wait to be back." See, that's what I was wondering about. Was Kim Clavel going to come back, it being that she just gave birth to her first child? And I had a sneaking suspicion that so soon after having become a 2-weight world champion and giving birth thereafter, Kim Clavel might decide to call it a career. Call it a career on a high note, the same way that Germany's Tina Ruprecht did. Sinisi Estrada also. Though apparently not. Kim Clavel means to return to the boxing ring. MVP said she's on a 3-fight winning streak. It's actually 4, after having dropped a controversial decision to then-champion Evelyn Bermudez. In October of 2023, Kim has fought 4 times since then, and won 4 times since then. Last in action, in September of the previous year, opposite the ring, Sol Kudos for what was the IBF title. Now she is IBF champion, still reigning, alongside 2 other champions at that same weight. Germany's own Sarah Bormann, who holds the WBA and WBO titles, and still reigning WBC champion Yokasta Valle, also part of the MVP stable alongside Kim Clavel, currently coming off a lopsided loss in the light flyweight division to Lourdes Suarez. What I thought was a bad idea from the very beginning, instead of having Yokasta move up the light flyweight for a title up there, why not just get her the Sarah Bormann fight right there at minimum weight? If they had, it would have been a 3-belt unification match that would have set up Undisputed for Kim Clavel's return. Now, obviously, she wouldn't go right into a unification match so soon after having given birth. She'd have a tune-up, then the unification. The saving grace is they can still exact this plan, albeit with an added step. They have to get Yokasta back in the winner's bracket because it would be less than ideal to put her in a unification match so soon after a loss. Then they have to get her Sarah Bormann. Meanwhile, Kim Clavel, she's got to have a tune-up fight, presumably towards the end of this year in, say, the fall or winter months, to be primed to go unify with somebody in the new year. Now, what are Kim Clavel's chances against either Yokasta Valle or Sarah Bormann? Well, I really do like Kim Clavel's chances against Sarah Bormann, perhaps a little bit more than Yokasta Valle, because Sarah is an according to Hoya pressure fighter. With her, what you see is what you get. She's going to come forward, she's going to throw a lot of punches, and I think she's simple enough that Kim Clavel can work around that with her speed, her counters, her athleticism. I think she can beat Sarah. Yokasta, that might be a little bit dicier, as she is more experienced than both, a more decorated fighter than both, and at minimum weight, she is a force to be reckoned with. So perhaps, for Kim Clavel's first unification at this weight, MVP may have to look outside of their own borders, beyond their own stable, for the ideal fight for Kim Clavel. We are getting ahead of ourselves a bit. Before it becomes about any of that, she's got to tune up. And I think that she's going to before the year is out.
Yo, what's up, guys? Lots of fake news going around. Okay, so people are posting about the Ryan Garcia fight and Conor Benn fight in Las Vegas, September 12th. But I have yet to be approached about making this fight.
There's a reason for that.
We signed a 2-fight deal for Ryan with the Saudis last year. The first fight was with Barrios. And apparently the Saudis have chosen Conor Benn to be Ryan's next opponent.
So there you have it, Oscar. You sort of already answered your own question. If the Saudis haven't approached you about the Conor Benn fight, it's because they don't have to. It's because you allowed Ryan to enter a 2-fight deal with them. So why are you now acting surprised?
Nobody's asking for this fight.
Saudis are.
The fans are definitely not wanting this fight. And if it were up to me, I would have picked Devin Haney for the rematch. That's a much bigger fight.
Maybe it is, and maybe it isn't, but you already had your chance to do that fight with Devin. I remember immediately after the first one, it was Oscar De La Hoya who more than once said he didn't see any need in a rematch between Ryan and Devin, so that he could back that fight now? Make up your fucking mind! This is why Golden Boy is in a state of disarray.
But because Turkey owns Zuffa and wants to help them out, he picked Conor Benn. But whatever, that's fine. I mean, look, you can't just make fights without Golden Boy and DAZN.
They already made the fights, Oscar. All they're doing now is selecting the opponent. According to you, Ryan is on the hook for 2 fights with them. See, I didn't know that at first. So if they want Conor Benn, they get Conor Benn. And since Ryan is signed to Turkey for the time being... Tough titty.
I know Paramount wants the Ryan fight on their network because their regular Zuffa fights do a few thousand views. Oh, I can't imagine how fucking disappointed Paramount is.
Well, try and imagine how disappointed DAZN is that you agreed to have one of your flagship fighters fight for Turkey for 2 fights, which may or may not end up on their platform. How disappointed are they?
But there are contracts in place.
Like the one you signed with Turkey?
You can't just do whatever you want here in America. There are laws and legally binding contracts.
Like the one you signed with Turkey? Do you notice how Oscar brought his hands to his face when he said that? In the CIA, we call that a tell. That denotes Oscar was uncomfortable when he said that, likely because he realized in that moment he just contradicted himself. You said you signed a contract where Ryan is going to fight for the Saudis for 2 fights. Then you start harping about contracts and legalities as a reason for him not to fight. Make up your fucking mind. Which one is it? Did you or did you not sign over Ryan for 2 fights? Because if you did, it's up to Turkey who he fights and where.
Turkey and Salah. You can't call up any fighter you want and make a fight.
Oh, really?
You can't put fights on any network you want. That's why you're getting sued left and right.
So then take them to court, Oscar, if you can. But it doesn't sound like you will, because according to you, you signed him over for at least 2 fights. One that's done and one that's still pending. And it sounds a lot like Turkey and the guys at Sella didn't call you because they don't have to. My old dry cleaner's brother-in-law, Joe Habib, said the same thing, saying he allowed Ryan to sign a 2-fight deal with the Saudis and Ryan still owes them 1 fight. Oscar is just mad that it's with a Zuffa fighter, and his ego can't take it. Don't ever let these guys tell you they care about the fighters, and they put the fighters first. It's all bullshit. They put their own egos first. If he truly cared about Ryan, he would let him fight Benn and make the most money possible. Makes a valid point. Joe continued, Oscar does not have to be involved. It's not his event. It's a Ring Riyadh show. They can stick anyone up on that podium that they want. It's their money, and they can choose who they want to hire to be the event's coordinator. So if they want it to be Dana White and Zuffa Boxing, Oscar's gotta suck it up. And I didn't originally know that, as I didn't see Oscar's video at full length. I didn't realize that he had already signed over Ryan to Turkey. Oscar raised some valid points about there needing to be a peace summit for a war that Turkey started. There was some truth in that. Turkey enters into the boxing space, works with all the big-time promoters, and takes it upon himself to introduce Dana White and Zuffa Boxing to the boxing space. So whatever instability that created, that you're now holding a peace summit with all these promoters, is instability that you took part in. What you started. About that, Oscar was right. But when it comes to Ryan, it becomes a lot less subjective. It all boils down to whatever you agreed to when you signed over Ryan for 2 fights. You know how it works because you've collaborated with Turkey before. If you're gonna let him use your guy and he's the one putting up the money, he's the one calls the shots without any of your input, since it's his money making everything happen. And if he wants to give the reins to some other promoter, like Dana White and Zuffa Boxing, that's up to him. And I really like the part where Joe Habib highlighted that if this really were about what's best for the fighters, what's best for Ryan, okay, then you go let him fight. Because unless you have something better for him to do, something bigger, that gets him a bigger purse, There's no reason for you to stand in the way.
Not even delivering the biggest and best content to DAZN?
Well, you should have thought about that before you signed over Ryan to Turkey for 2 fights, as you knew what that would entail. While it is true that Oscar and Golden Boy are under pressure to deliver the biggest and best content for DAZN per their extension,
You should have thought about that before you signed over Ryan for 2 fights.
moreover, now using the Devin Haney fight, the rematch as an alternative when initially you're the one that didn't want to do it.
He poo-pooed on that rematch more than once, saying there was no need for a second fight, so you now can't use that as a shield, as a reason to not make the Conor Benn fight, I should say, to not let it happen, and worse, that Conor Benn is Ryan's mandatory per the WBC.
I don't think the order has come down yet, but if it does, and the free negotiation period comes and goes without an amicable deal, it goes to a purse bid.
People at Zuffa Boxing could just take the fight from you that way.
And with Turkey's money, Golden Boy Promotions doesn't have the same money muscle that they used to. In a purse bid situation, there's a high probability that Zuffa Boxing would beat them out in most any purse bid situation. So either way,
Oscar is experiencing buyer's remorse.
that's what it sounds like. He doesn't like the idea that Ryan, one of his flagship fighters, might now become content for one of his competitors. But he should take comfort in the fact that it's a fight Ryan stands a very good chance of winning. Conor Benn hasn't fought as a welterweight 3 years. He's likely going to be depleted, drained at that weight now. Ryan stands a very good chance of stopping him. So just let your fighter go make his money, and he'll come back to you.
If for Oscar, it's all about what's best for the fighter, well, that is what's best for Ryan.
Upstairs at Junior Middle, really middle, Errol Spence Jr. versus Tim Tszyu pay-per-view lands on DAZN worldwide. Errol Spence Jr.'s July 25th pay-per-view clash with Tim Tszyu will be available on DAZN worldwide in addition to Amazon Prime Video, giving fans another way to purchase one of the summer's biggest boxing events. The distribution update was announced Friday, confirming that the PBC event will no longer be exclusive to Amazon Video,
Why would it be? Amazon doesn't give a shit about them.
as Amazon never gave the PBC a budget and thus never paid for exclusivity. DAZN Ultimate subscribers will also receive the Spence vs. Tszyu pay-per-view as part of their subscription, providing added value for customers on the streaming service's premier tier. The fight is scheduled to headline a PBC pay-per-view card in Sydney, Australia. Really, a no-limit card, with Spence returning for the first time since his stoppage loss to Terence Crawford and his lengthy layoff from the ring. Tszyu enters the bout looking to capitalize on home field advantage and secure the biggest win of his career. The former world champion will be fighting in front of an Australian crowd and has spent recent months working under Hall of Famer Jeff Fenech ahead of the contest.
With both Boxer and Top Rank and Salida Promotions and all the other smaller promoters that have now migrated over to DAZN, beefing up their content catalog, there's been growing interest in the PBC doing the same thing. And this would...
There are now rumors swirling that the PBC might soon join the rest of these promotional outfits on the DAZN platform, which would seem an acquiescence of defeat. As when DAZN first debuted in the American market, it was a lot of those guys over there at the PBC taking shots at them. Leonard Ellerby more famously referring to the platform as Dead Zone. What at first seemed like a cute little play on words is now aged badly. And where is Leonard Ellerby these days anyway? What has he been up to?
Times are tough, and it really is survival of the fittest. There's no room for glorified water boys in today's cutthroat landscape.
You've got to do a little bit more than carrying towels and spit buckets to stay relevant in today's boxing scene.
Let's be honest, Leonard Ellerby was never anything more than Floyd Mayweather's gopher.
So this latest revelation that Spence vs. Tszyu is now going to also be distributed by DAZN fuels suspicions that the PBC may end up joining them after all,
as they've collaborated on more than one occasion in recent months.
The Garcia vs. Barrios fight was a shared pay-per-view between them and Amazon, as was the David Benavidez vs. Zurdo Ramirez fight. Though on those separate occasions, there was at least one DAZN fighter fighting in the main event, whereas this time, there are no DAZN fighters on this card, but they're distributing it anyway.
And what is the effort to beef up their ultimate tier?
They are actively looking for box office fights to add to that catalog to justify the hefty price tag, because that thing runs you about $440 or something like that here in the United States. And what else you want to pay attention to, that they're going to be doing not one box office fight on the 25th, but two, because that's the same day as Joshua versus Pringa, which is also being billed as a pay-per-view.
Pay-per-view that's drawing a lot of criticism since all it really is a tune-up fight for Anthony Joshua, so why should it come with an added price tag for American subscribers? That's not a hot ticket here in the United States.
In any event, it's supposed to be going down the same day as Tszyu versus Spence. So you figure that even if you're not subscribed to the Ultimate tier, you may be able to get the both of those box office fights at a reduced price.
Keep an eye out for that.
Well, this is the section where we were meant to cross to the United States to talk to Errol Spence, but we are just hearing now that despite a number of phone calls and this time being booked with Errol, he has not jumped on, and it appears he will not be joining us for this chat. Tim, your immediate reaction to that?
Well, we've been waiting, 45 minutes now. I missed out on sparring today. I had to change it up for this to be done, so I'm quite upset.
Is this a surprise to you that this has happened? I know you had those interactions at the press conference. Do you think that he's slept through something?
We're waiting for the USA game, but I don't know. Whatever it is, what it is.
Tim Tszyu's reaction to Errol Spence Jr. leaving the Aussies high and dry in what was supposed to be a confab to help promote their upcoming fight at the end of the month. To that, Tim Tszyu has since said that he's coming for Errol Spence Jr.'s damaged retina.
Tim's not happy.
Why would he be? He had to cancel a sparring session in order to make time to talk to Errol. Errol didn't make time to talk to him. Sort of brings the focus back to what makes this fight so intriguing. Which one of these two fighters that have both been through the ringer is more damaged? Is it Errol, as a result of the beating that he took at the hands of Crawford and everything he suffered beforehand? Or is it Timmy, who's suffered more than one loss in recent memory while Errol Spence Jr.'s been missing in action? Who do you trust?
They got a lot in common, these two boys. They've both been through the ringer. The next time we see them, they're both going to be breaking in new trainers. Tim Tszyu breaking in Jeff Fennick. Errol breaking in Ronnie Shields.
It's a genuinely intriguing fight, albeit for the wrong reasons. Not because both fighters are on the up and up, but because they both haven't been. Though still a good fight.
I am looking forward to it.